Prologue Lionheart, The Edge of Order, The Sphere. The arena was not built for entertainment. It was built for intimidation. 40,000 citizens filled the descending tiers of the Dominion Sphere, their faces illuminated by the cold wash of holographic light cascading from the vaulted ceiling. The structure rose like a cathedral of steel and carbon glass in the center of what had once been Washington, D.C., now renamed Central District 1 under the authority of the United Federation. Above them, drones hovered in silent formation. Every movement was recorded, every expression archived. The air vibrated with anticipation, the kind that paralyzes and confuses any unsuspecting observers. Outside the sphere, the skyline pulsed with towering screens. Across the continent, in homes, factories, and transit corridors, millions were logged into what was now known as the unified grid. Attendance was not optional. It was campaign season. Nearly 4 years had passed since the 2024 election, when Silas Thorne convinced a fractured nation that classism was America's salvation, and soon millions would head to the polls again to either deny or validate his claim. The old political order hung in the balance as Thorne's reform policies passed through Congress like a virus, as those who opposed were often met with violence. The people, under economic fracture and civil unrest, reorganized into the Democratic Opposition Party, the DOP. They were fractured, they were monitored, but they were not extinct. The lights dimmed, a single beam descended to the center platform. Silas Thorne emerged from the shadows. He did not wave, he did not smile. He stood motionless in a tailored black coat threaded with faint silver circuitry, the fabric catching the light like veins of cold lightning. His presence was not theatrical, it was surgical. The roar that followed was engineered. Sound amplifiers beneath each seat blended applause with pre-programmed resonance, turning scattered claps into something tidal. The arena became a single organism of noise. Thorne lifted one hand. Silence fell instantly. When he spoke, his voice did not echo. It pierced Silas Thorne, Annuit Coeptus. Citizens of the unified grid, look at the horizon. Beyond the neon and the steel lies the chaos of our past, a sprawling, weak nation without morals or discipline. We have outgrown the luxury of choice, a word that nearly extinguished our kind. The choice to choose to abort innocent babies, the choice to choose one's sex regardless of gender, the choice that will enable a people to put a primate in the White House in charge of the world's most powerful military. No more. Today, we sharpen our resolve. To live within the light of our civilization is to accept the blade that trims the rot. My name is Silas Thorne. I am the boundary between your survival and the void. We shall not go gently into the darkness. No, America. She is a raging machine, and that only comes by way of order. You may feel the sting of my mandates, but remember, a garden only thrives under the shears. Do not fear the cold precision of the law. Fear the darkness that waits if we falter. We are the architects of a perfect possibility. Stay sharp. Stay disciplined. Stay within the edge. The arena erupted once more, but not everyone stood. High in Section 402, a young woman remained seated. Around her, tens of thousands rose in synchronized compliance. Her wrist display flickered. The opposition lives. However fractured, it was still powerful, because the DOP was not merely a political party. It was quietly backed by freedom fighter organizations across Europe, Africa, and South America. Coalitions of media moguls, industrial magnates, philanthropic dynasties, and tech elites within the top 5% of America's wealthiest families. They funneled money and encrypted infrastructure into what they called the Civic Forward Movement, an effort to preserve democratic governance before it was permanently erased. And across the city, the face of that movement was preparing to speak across the city in a separate, encrypted streaming channel shielded from the unified grid, the DOP conducted its own broadcast. Floodlights illuminated a massive outdoor rally. There were no biometric gates, no hovering drones, no engineered applause, just people. And at center stage stood DOP presidential hopeful candidate Aksum Alexander Revels, an up-and-coming political force from the district's very own Howard University. The face of the Civic Forward movement, he was the oldest of twins by 9 minutes to his younger brother, Kushan Anthony Revels, known worldwide to his fan base as Kush. It was no coincidence that Aksum carried political weight. His great-grandfather was the late Hiram Revels, who had served in the United States Senate in the late 1800s. Leadership ran through his bloodline. Aksum was a strong orator, a champion for his people. He challenged the Federation at every turn, legally, morally, intellectually, and for that reason he had become something dangerous in the eyes of the regime. An enemy of the state, Kush, by contrast, reveled in his music and the lifestyle it brought. His lyrics occasionally touched on injustice, but never deeply enough to anchor him fully in politics. He was rhythm and charisma, art and energy, but he loved his brother. 9 minutes apart in birth, inseparable in purpose. Moments earlier, Kush had electrified the crowd with a rallying performance. Now he stepped aside, clapping Aksum's shoulder as the applause swelled naturally. Human, imperfect, real. Aksum stepped to the podium. The crowd quieted. Aksum Revels the electric chord. Friends, Silas Thorne offers you a future built on the architecture of us versus them. He tells you that for the system to work, you must be filed, categorized, and sorted into classes of his making. He feeds on the friction of our differences, using the old tools of division and the new tools of digital control to keep us looking at each other's skin and status rather than his hands on the lever. But I am here to tell you, you are not a demographic, you are not a data set, and you are certainly not the enemies of your neighbors. Thorne's authoritarian vision relies on your isolation. He wants you to believe that your neighbor's gain is your loss, and that only his perfect code can keep the peace. That is a lie designed to make you trade your agency for his order. True unity isn't found in a top-down mandate. It is forged in the quiet moments of shared struggle and the loud moments of collective joy. We are not a collection of warring factions. We are one people, weary of being told who to fear. My vision for this nation doesn't involve erasing who you are. It involves empowering you to be more than what a machine classifies you to be. And like the electric cord, our once great President Lincoln so profoundly referenced in his Declaration of 1858, I too believe that it links all patriotic hearts to the founding principles of liberty and equality. We will dismantle the walls of social classification and the baiting of race and class that Thorne uses to distract us. We will replace his spire of control with a foundation of mutual respect. Power belongs in the hands of the person on the street, the family at the table, and the worker in the shop, not in the cold algorithms of a man who fears the very people he claims to lead. Let us prove that we are ungovernable by fear, but united by purpose. The future isn't something Silas Thorne grants us. It is something we take back, together. The crowd roared, and then a metallic crack split the air. Aksum staggered. Confusion held the crowd frozen for a heartbeat. The second shot removed all doubt. Aksum collapsed. 6. Kush lunged forward, screaming his brother's name as blood spread across the stage beneath the Civic Forward banner. The live stream camera fell sideways. Sirens ignited almost instantly. Too quickly, some would later argue. At the exact same moment, the night the silence broke, inside the Dominion sphere, the overhead screens flickered. A split-second glitch, then a violent rupture detonated from the upper west quadrant. Steel buckled. Glass imploded. Smoke surged upward and as the Dominion sphere trembled under the force of an explosion that ripped through its structure like a surgical incision, the engineered applause dissolved into raw terror. Red emergency strobes pulsed. Silas Thorne did not flinch. Security forces encircled him as the official broadcast cut to the Federation emblem. Signal interruption. Maintain calm. But panic does not obey commands. Through falling debris and fleeing crowds, the young woman from Section 402 moved toward the exit. Calm, deliberate. Her wrist display flickered once more. The opposition lives. She stepped into the cold night air as flames licked at the starred horizon behind her. The blame Kush remained kneeling long after Aksum's body was carried away. By dawn, the nation was divided into two realities. Federation Media Authority declared coordinated extremist elements within the Democratic Opposition Party are responsible for these terror attacks. Encrypted DOP channels countered immediately. This was a calculated Federation false flag designed to eliminate Aksum rebels and justify authoritarian expansion. Finger-pointing became accusation. 7. Accusation became mobilization. The United Federation declared a state of stabilization. Messiah curfews blanketed major metropolitan zones. DOP offices were raided. Civic forward donors were investigated. International markets trembled. Wealthy global backers condemned the regime. Military patrols intensified. Kush remained kneeling long after Aksum's body was carried away. By week's end, one phrase echoed through every channel, every whisper network, every encrypted forum. The war for democracy has begun. Two tragedies. One night, no verified culprit. And somewhere between smoke and blood,